family, the word family, it means team. At least it does in my home.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we change from an us versus them mentality, mom and dad versus the kids, or kids versus mom and dad, or even mom and the kids versus dad, whatever the dynamic is that's going on, when we just change that to, we are all on the same team. We all have different skills. We all have different gifts. So let's all use them together and let's get this job done so that we can then go on and live our lives, whether that is whatever you want to be doing, whether it's reading a book, whether it's scrolling Instagram on your phone, whether your kids want to play Fortnite, whatever it is, sports, whatever. Let's get this job tackled as a family so that then as a family, we can go do whatever we actually want to be doing, knowing that we've taken care of business, so to speak.
Welcome to Empowered Kids TV, where we introduce you to the people and ideas to help you take action to create the family of your dreams. Today, I want you to picture this: a mom with 10 children who homeschools and as an entrepreneur works from home. Her home is reasonably clean 99% of the time. She isn't stressed out and hating her life. She isn't overwhelmed, and she doesn't feel like the only one that has to do things around her home. Think she's a myth or maybe a genie in a bottle? Well, today, it's my pleasure to introduce you to a woman who has turned her organizational skills into a power tool, supporting thousands of moms across the globe to find the teamwork they need within their families to create the home sweet home we all dream of, without losing their sanity. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the creator of Freedom Mom Smart Chore System, the amazing Ashley Buffa. Ashley, welcome to Empowered Kids TV.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, I'm going to dive right in because I think as a mom, having spoken to thousands of moms across the globe, chores is one of the things that really, it gets to us, right? It's where we have a lot of conflict in the home. So I wanted to start by asking, from your experience, what do you think is the main thing we're getting wrong as parents with trying to incorporate the entire family into chores?
Well, I think there's a few different things. I think the first thing is that we vastly underestimate what our children are capable of doing. We underestimate their potential. And so I think that children are so smart, right? They know how to work the system. And so, if they see you underestimating them, they're going to play into that. So I think that's the first thing is, we need to hold our children to a much higher standard because they're so much more capable than we can even imagine. The second thing that I think that we get wrong when we're trying to incorporate chores is that family, the word family, it means team. At least it does in my home. And so when we change from an us versus them mentality, mom and dad versus the kids, or kids versus mom and dad, or even mom and the kids versus dad, whatever the dynamic is that's going on, when we just change that to, we are all on the same team. We all have different skills. We all have different gifts. So let's all use them together and let's get this job done so that we can then go on and live our lives, whether that is whatever you want to be doing, whether it's reading a book, whether it's scrolling Instagram on your phone, whether your kids want to play Fortnite, whatever it is, sports, whatever. Let's get this job tackled as a family so that then as a family, we can go do whatever we actually want to be doing, knowing that we've taken care of business, so to speak. So those are the two major areas I think that we're getting it wrong. It's either, when you think of, I need to get my kids doing chores, a lot of times mom thinks that it either means that she does nothing, that she's just there telling the kids what to do. And so that doesn't really sit right necessarily,
Yep.
There's the whole mom guilt phenomenon. So
Yes.
that doesn't feel right. But it also doesn't feel right when mom is the only person doing chores. That feels terrible, right? Then you feel taken advantage of and you just want to pack a bag and leave. So when everybody is working together as a cohesive unit, the job gets done so much faster. No one feels taken for granted or taken advantage of. And then you can all just get on with your day. And it just works really, really nicely.
You know, in most homes where chores is a problem, the reality is mom has the lion's share. And that leads me to think that there might be some sort of mindset that we have as moms that's probably sitting behind that. From your experience, have you uncovered anything that we need to shed some light on?
Oh my goodness, yes. So the whole first module of my course is basically on getting mom's mindset in the right position. So, you know, because most of the moms that come to me are completely overwhelmed because they are doing it all because nobody else cares. So they have the martyr mentality of, if I want this done, I'm gonna have to do it myself because nobody cares and nobody can do it like I can do it. So yeah, first of all, we have to realize that chores are not like a special gift. So mom is not the only person that can do it right. That's absolutely not true. So once you accept the fact that although you may have high standards, they can certainly be met. You know, that's really the first hurdle. The second hurdle is that feeling sorry for yourself because you're being taken advantage of, that's not actually going to fix anything, right? We have to decide, I want better for myself. I want better for my children. I want better for my home. So I'm just going to do what it takes so that we can all be accomplishing this together. And then the other big mindset shift that a lot of moms have trouble with is, you know, well, what happens when my kids are giving me attitude, right? Because that's what kids do. They're very smart. They know how to work the system. So there's whining, there's complaining, you know, they may even try to sabotage everything by like making a bigger mess. Like there's all sorts of things that children will tap into. And so mom's like, well, what do I do about that? They're just I've tried this before and and it's okay. So that's where the old school mom mentality really has to come into play. So when I talk about the old school mom, you need to picture Mary Poppins, Nanny McPhee, you know, all of those wonderful, which they're not even necessarily moms, but you know, the governesses and the nannies from times past, Maria from The Sound of Music, they expected things of the children and they don't stand over them with a whistle or a whip. You know, they're not like berating the kids or screaming or rolling their eyes or saying, oh, you know, why won't you kids just listen? That's not how it works, right? It's, you know, she's there with a smile, but she's firm and she sets her expectations. And this is what we're doing. And there's always a touch of whimsy in there. And I think when you can really hone in on whichever old school mom it is that inspires you the most, and really work on developing that same firm but fun attitude, your kids will respond to it a lot better. So it's really getting ourselves in order first so that then we can be a good leader for our kids. And I always say too, because I am not perfect, not by any means, I have this big problem with leaving my shoes all over the house. Like it's really bad. It's embarrassing. And so my kids do too, because I'm not setting a good example for them. And so, you know, the old Ashley may have walked around and tripped because we have so many kids, you know, tripped over like 10 pairs of shoes on my way to bed and gotten mad and started yelling or like throwing shoes or something. But the new Ashley is like, I really have got to do a better job of setting an example for my kids because I am like,
absolutely,
this is me. This is me. And so that actually literally happened last night. I was walking to bed and I noticed so many pairs of shoes and some of them were mine. And so I said, okay, tomorrow morning, like before we have breakfast, I'm going to call all the kids together and we're going to pick up shoes but we're going to be doing it together because it's all of our shoes. And I'm going to give a little speech. Hey, kids, I know I haven't done a great job setting a good example for you. Let's all do better because nobody wants to trip and break their arm over shoes. So let's all, and so that's, if your kids see you being willing to admit where you're failing too, then I don't know. It's like a morale boost to them. If they see mom admitting, I'm not perfect, but let's try to do better anyway. It's helpful.
I love so many things that you've just said in there. So many juicy things. The first thing is, I love the fact that you're saying we can move to a place where we tackle chores as a family without mom having to become the enforcer. She doesn't have to come the drill sergeant standing over anybody with a stick going, you didn't do this, you didn't do it the way you were supposed to do it, when you were supposed to do it. But you can do that with fun. So like when you talked about the old governors, my mind went to Mary Poppins because she was just fun. There was story and excitement and imagination all wrapped into how she would guide her kids. So I love that. And I also really love, I think, when you can come from the standpoint where you're willing to look at where you need to clean up your own mindset and your own habits, it really sets the tone for teamwork. Because now your kids are not saying, well, you don't do it, but you're trying to make me do it. I'm not going to do it. You don't pick your shoes up. And we had, like in my family, we had something similar come up because now we're in quarantine. Everybody's snacking at different times of the day all over. And I was like, why is your cup here? Why is your saucer here? Why is your bowl here? And then I walked into my bedroom and I had a teacup at the side of my bed. And I was like, like, all right, this is why.
That's why. Oh, mystery solved.
Oh, I love it. Okay, you talk about 3 pillars of family organization. Can we touch on those?
Yes. So the 3 pillars of family organization. Pillar number 1 is decluttering, because if you are just trying to organize your clutter, you could spend 30 minutes organizing and it is still going to look bad, right? And let me just offer this with the caveat. I am not a minimalist, not by any means. I don't know if you've heard the new term that's floating around, grand millennial. It's basically a millennial, which I'm barely in the age range, but a millennial that decorates like their grandma. So, we love the florals and, it's not minimalist at all. So I'm not a minimalist. I don't advocate minimalism unless that's what you like. But a decluttered space is so much easier and it is so much faster to organize. It just is. So, and I actually advocate a different type of decluttering. I don't advocate, like a 72-hour decluttering spree, like a Marie Kondo style decluttering where you just get it all done, because that is not actually sustainable. And Marie Kondo has actually gone on to say, like, don't try this with kids because it actually doesn't work. So it's more of a decluttering lifestyle. I basically spend 3 to 5 minutes every single day of my life decluttering. And I have a systematic way I work through the house. And so every part of my house gets hit once a month, basically. And so what I do, the 3 pillars of decluttering or of organization, you start with the decluttering. So you spend 3 to 5 minutes decluttering, and then you spend 3 to 5 minutes organizing. It's like 1, 2. So all in, it's like 6 minutes. And I don't know about you, but I spend way more than 6 minutes scrolling around on my phone every day. So everybody has 6 minutes. Don't tell me you don't. And then the 3rd pillar of organization is just making sure to touch it once a month. And you do that by just, I have a plan. I can give you the link to download my little freebie thingy, but it's basically top to bottom, like every area of your house is touched every 30 days. And does it get completely decluttered and organized in a month? No, absolutely not. Like, you can't do that. However, if you stay consistent, after about 2, 3, 4 months, depending on how much clutter you have, you will be amazed at how actually it is. Like, it builds on itself if you stay consistent and, do a little bit every day. And I mean, anybody has 6 minutes, right? I mean, you just
absolutely
do.
It doesn't feel it doesn't feel overwhelming. Like when you
Right.
think of a 72-hour declutter, I think, oh
Yeah.
my
Like, you
God,
don't want to
right?
do that. You don't want to do that.
No, 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 I
Not at
don't.
all.
But 6 to 10 minutes a day, that just feels like something that I can do quite quickly. And if
Yeah.
I know there's a payoff and over time I will begin to see it, that feels like something doable, something I can get behind and be consistent. So I
Right.
love
And the
the idea
beauty
of
of
that.
it is not only is it doable, but then the way that you got there is the way that you stay there. So after
Mm,
3 or 4 months, you have this decluttered and beautifully organized home, and you just keep going. And so it just gets better and better as you go. And then you never end up like opening your child's closet and an avalanche of papers and rocks and like, I mean, because kids are clutter monsters. I mean, they just really are. God love them. But I mean, they just collect and so badly. And so it's really good too for them to see mom setting the habit so that then they can
mm.
start setting the habit when they're younger, so that when they go off as adults, they don't have all of these bad habits in place. They're used to, constantly keeping their stuff decluttered and organized. And it sets the stage for a beautiful life.
You know what? I think that's probably been the first time that I felt a hint of excitement around the topic of chores, because it felt like something that was actually sustainable and not overwhelming. And it also felt like something that my kids could get behind quite easily, because I'm not asking them to spend an hour on a Saturday. Let's everybody an hour. And by the time we're all done, we should have a home that's fairly tidy. That's not what I'm
Right.
asking. 10 minutes a day, everybody can get behind. And my
Yes.
kids are also like, I have one son who loves to collect stuff from nature. So his room is filled with rocks and sticks. And it's always, and I'm the one always trying to kind of pull them away when I'm not really instilling that habit of him learning to declutter by him doing it himself.
Right.
So I really love the idea of just 10 minutes a day and being consistent with it.
Yes.
You also talk about recognizing that there are seasons within families. And I wanted
Yes.
to touch on that, especially because the time we're in, really still trying to navigate a global pandemic, but probably for the first time feeling completely overwhelmed because we're all in the same place and the clutter is going to be climbing and the mess. And if moms don't get a handle on the teamwork, you can feel like ripping your hair out. So
Yes.
let's talk about seasons and how we need to be mindful of that with regards to changing what our family approaches to chores.
Yes. Okay. So the first thing I want to say in regards to seasons, and especially in regards to the pandemic, is let's think about it this way. Let's think about, you already have your home clean, organized, decluttered. Everyone has their chores, and it's just running nice and smoothly. So all of a sudden, your home doesn't feel like a place you need to get away from anymore. Your home is your center, and it is where you go to feel most comfortable. It's where your
Mm.
kids love to be because it's clean, it's fresh, it's organized. There's no more screaming mom saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe," there's no more of that. It is what it was actually meant to be. It actually is home sweet home. And it provides so much emotional stability in a time where everything feels unstable. Okay.
Mm.
So that's like what we're all going for. And that's what home has the capability of being. And that's what us, uh, as moms, that's what we have the capability of bringing forth in our homes, is that home sweet home where it just feels so good. And so you're not itching to just get away from it. Okay. So that's what we're all aiming for. Now, the different seasons, um, you know, before the pandemic hit, we were in a season of, shuttling different kids to sports and different, social activities. We homeschool, so there's a little bit less of that for us, in that I'm not taking the kids to and from school, but we were involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. And so it kind of feels like you're never there to actually do the work, right? Unless it's a weekend. And so the way that I've designed my system, and, when I was putting all this together, I was not thinking one day I'm going to go forth and bring it to all moms everywhere. It was just me trying to survive, right? And so basically I established 3 different levels of home management. You have proactive survival mode, and that's not like, you know, being in the same leggings for 5 days straight and you go through a whole bottle of dry shampoo before you take a shower. That's not what this survival mode is. This survival mode, you're actually still moving the needle forward and you are put together and you feel like you can conquer the world. So that's proactive survival mode. And that's for our busiest days when we're going all over the place and barely home. But the needle in your home still gets to be moved forward. And then there's stage 1, which is survival mode plus a few more. That's when the kids are doing their chores that day. There's the decluttering, there's the organizing going on. You know, everybody has their set chores and they get done. And then there's stage 2, which is all of those things plus some deep cleaning. Okay. Because you don't have to be deep cleaning every day. Nobody wants to deep clean every day. It's gross. Like nobody wants to do that. And, you know, it's like nobody has time to do that. But if we did, we wouldn't want to do it still. So like, So, you know, stage 2 in my home, it only happens once a week. And that is plenty. Like we get it done. You know, some of my older kids have a few stage 2 chores. I have stage 2 chores. My husband has stage 2 chores. So once a week, we just, you know, do our little thing and it's done. But most of the days I live in stage 1, but then I have 2 days a week that I am in survival mode on purpose. One of those days is a very busy schedule day, but the other day is Sunday because I just want to take a break. And so I do. Yeah. So it's different seasons where you can, you know, if you need to be more survival mode heavy throughout your week, then you can. Or if it's a season like in the pandemic where it's mostly stage 1 days with, you know, 1 or 2 stage 2 days thrown in, it's very flexible and you get to move in and move out. The difference is you're proactively choosing what you're going to be doing that day instead of just letting your circumstances dictate the way that you're going to go forth into your day. So it's one of those mindset shifts. It's like, you know, I'm the boss of my day. My day is not the boss of me. So it's subtle, but it's kind of life changing and it's home changing for sure.
I love that. Okay, so for families, moms especially, that have struggled with getting chores to happen as a family. So we're the ones that we've been doing lion's share all the time. And now we recognize, okay, there is a better way. Where do we start?
So the easiest way to start and really get your kids on board is what I like to call the 5-minute family cleanup. And you're probably thinking like, that is not going to do it. But it is. Okay. So the reason why the 5-minute family cleanup is so powerful is because it is literally 5 minutes. You set a literal timer for 5 minutes and you tell your kids, hey kids, we're all going to come into this room. I'm setting the timer for 5 minutes. Everybody work as hard and as fast as you can. When this timer goes off, you are done and I release you. And then you actually do it. You actually like let them go. Now, if you have one that's giving you the bad attitude, because there's one in every family, then you just say, hey, if you don't pull your weight, then you're going to have to do an extra 5 minutes by yourself. But the beauty of the 5-minute family cleanup is that 5 minutes is such a short amount of time, but it is so powerful. If you're working together as a team, you can get a full room cleaned up in 5 minutes. And it's, I mean, even every time I do it, and we do it daily, I'm still amazed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that we just did that. But for the kids, what it does for the children, it gives them a definite start and a definite ending. Whereas before, I'm willing to bet, before on a Saturday, you're like, hey kids, we need to clean up this house. And that's all you say, right? And if they're like, well, for how long? They're like, until it's done, right? There's no definite, so then the kids are like, but what does that mean? When is it done? Like by whose standard? Like she's literally going to hold us hostage here forever, you know? And so they're panicked And all they can think of is their lost Saturday. They're feeling sorry for themselves. They're starting to do the martyr thing. Like, the only reason my mom had me was so that I would clean up the house on Saturdays, right? So, and mom's doing her own martyr thing because the kids are giving her pushback. She's like, I can't believe I had these kids and they don't appreciate, you know, like, everybody's being martyrs. Whereas if you say 5 minutes, that's all I need from you, but I need your best, and you turn on some upbeat music, most of the time, the kids, when the timer goes off, they're like looking around like, what? And then you keep your word and you're like, goodbye, go, I release you.
Wait.
Now, if you have a home that 5 minutes really isn't quite enough and you need to call them back, say, hey, just FYI, go do what you want for an hour or two. I'm going to call everybody back in, 2 hours, and we're going to do another 5 minutes, but it's only going to be another 5 minutes. It's a great way to introduce your kids to the chores. It's a great way for you to practice being Mary Poppins. You turn on the music, the kids start to trust you, because you said 5 minutes and you stuck to your word. You were cleaning with them. Everyone's smiling. It's a super, super powerful realization. And so many times, every time I go into our Facebook group for people who have bought the program, I'll be scrolling through and I'll see, we just did the 5-minute family cleanup for the first time. I can't believe how well that worked. I mean, it's magical. It is like Mary Poppins magic, basically, so that's where
I love it. And I know we've had 5-minute times, but not with that fun. We've had 5-minute times when the living room was a mess and we had impromptu guests, and it's like, right, everybody in, we need to clean before they knock on the door.
Yes.
And so I know 5 minutes is enough to leave a room looking like, wow. But I think adding that fun element and also showing the kids, look, it's a short time. It's a short time. There's a start and an end that you can see. It's something that I can see even my kids can easily really just get behind, because mom's not asking for your whole day. She's not asking you to give up all the things that you had planned to do for your relaxation time to do chores. Just 5 minutes. So I love it.
Yes.
What are some pitfalls that we need to look out for as we start to introduce doing chores as a family?
So one of the pitfalls, and this is one of the chief complaints that I've heard from moms, is, before they really get started, they say, we've tried this before, but my kids only do it halfway. It's easier for me to just do it myself. So the way that I solve this problem, because it happened in my own home as well, is we use SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures. So I literally have laminated SOPs. I have one posted on the bathroom doors. I have one posted on the inside of every bedroom door. One in the kitchen. I even have one for our van, for cleaning out the van, because that gets done once a week. And so basically it's a checklist, and it goes in order that I want the child doing it. And so they have the complete start to finish of what they're supposed to do. And then there's a picture of what it's supposed to look like when it's done. And so I inspect, because I heard this phrase, and I wish I knew who originally said this. It was not me though. But the person said, you must inspect what you expect. So if you think, moms, we all know better than this. We all know we can't just say, go clean your room and then expect it to be done properly, right? I mean, we know that. So you have to inspect their work. And so you just take the SOP, and usually you can scan and say, this isn't right. And so then I hand it to them and I say, where on here did you go wrong? Can you point it out to me, please? And so, they know what they did. They'll be like, oh, right here. Okay, fix it. Call me back when it's done. And so I've gotten to the point now, because we've been doing this for probably close to 5 years now. So my kids, I still spot inspect. I don't have to inspect every day, but there are a few who really do. They try to work the system, and I know who they are, so I do inspect their work more often. But having that SOP in writing with the steps that they need to take in order, it helps them because they have a visual, they have the steps laid out for them. So, because we forget, everybody forgets stuff. But that's a visual way for them to check their own work, and a visual way for whoever is inspecting, whether that be mom, dad, or even an older sibling. I have older siblings inspect work all the time. So they just grab it. They know what the standard is now. And so, it keeps everybody accountable, really. So it's really a great tool, and it eliminates that whole doing the job halfway thing. And it also eliminates, I don't know about you, but I have a few children who just love to argue. Like, it's fun for them. That's kind of entertaining for them. And so, but it's in writing. So it's like, you can't argue with the steps. It's literally in black and white for you. So I just hand it to them. I'm like, find it on here. Where'd you go wrong? And so it's like, okay.
I love it. It reminds me of Stephen Covey has a story that he shared when his kids were younger called Green and Clean. And it was him trying to introduce his son to cleaning up the lawn. And he showed him what green and clean looked like by looking at the neighbor's lawn versus their lawn. So they had a picture for what it looked like. And what I love about the inspection is, and I didn't get it when I first heard the Stephen Covey story, but years later now, Stephen's son, who's also called Stephen, shares that story from the child's perspective. And he said what it really built within him, that accountability built trust, because he knew that his dad had an expectation that he was capable of delivering on green and clean. He was capable of doing the task in the way that they had agreed. And even though he slipped up a few times in the beginning, his dad always showed up with the trust in his ability to do it. And that, from a child's perspective, was really very powerful. So I love it. And I love the fact that even when your kids push the boundaries, you let them figure out for themselves where they were supposed to fix it, which part of the SOP they've missed off, so that they can go back and correct it. I think it's brilliant.
It's having them figure out where they went wrong. It's a great way to make sure that our children are taking ownership. And it's a great way to make sure that they're taking these life skills that we're giving them, that we're teaching them, and that they take them on into their adulthood. Because none of us are having kids so that we have kids forever, right? We're having kids so that we can release them into the world and they go out and make it better, right? I mean, I'm not having, 30-year-old men living in my basement. That's not what I signed up for. So, by having them take ownership, figure out where they went wrong, they're going to be then going out and taking care of their stuff. As mothers, we're never going to walk into the homes of our adult children and be like, oh my gosh, I need a hazmat suit, So.
Oh, I love it. Okay, before I ask my last question, can you tell moms that really want to dive into the Freedom Mom Chores system to get support? Tell us more about it and how we can access it.
Okay, so you can find it at smartkidschores.com. And it is basically, it's the system to take you to fix your mindset, to walk you through the steps of figuring out which chores you want your kids doing in the first place, and then getting those chores phased in gradually. Because one of the biggest problems that I've seen with other chore systems is that basically you go from 0 to 60, like overnight. And that is not the way to start new habits. It's just not. Like, everybody who knows anything about changing your habits knows it needs to be done gradually. And that's also, if you try to go from 0 to 60, it's a great way for your kids to really fight you on it, which we want to avoid. So I teach that you need to phase in your chores. And so I show you exactly how to do that, exactly how and where to incorporate those 5-minute family cleanups, exactly where to incorporate in the decluttering. And then at the very end, I have a whole module on how to deal with certain behavioral issues, because we have all sorts of, and some, I have it labeled as the lazy child, the perfectionist child, the defiant child. But in all honesty, some of our children are all of those behaviors wrapped up into one. It just depends on what day it is. So it's just a really good way to troubleshoot. and how to work with your child's personality and, different, to kind of navigate through it more easily than just, because all of their kids are, nobody has a family where you just walk in and be like, okay, we're going to do this. And the kids are like, yay! That's not real life actually. So, so I help you navigate those bumps and, get into smoother sailing. And so anyway, that's the system.
I love it. Okay, I love it. My last question for you, Ashley. What does it mean to you to live an empowered life?
Oh my goodness. An empowered life to me is completely tied with having a growth mindset, right? Knowing that just because I can't do something right now, that I don't have the skills or the mindset to do something right now, it doesn't mean that I can't do it. It doesn't mean that I can't figure it out. So for me, and especially with 10 kids, it's like, and I want to display this for my kids so that they then take this. They're watching me. They're taking their cues from me. So I want them to see me constantly trying new things, getting out of my comfort zone and pushing my own limits so that I can be the best version of myself possible. And I think it's so important for us moms not to get into a rut, because our children are watching, right? And we want our children to grow and become the best versions possible. And so I do the craziest things. A couple of years ago, it was 2 years ago, I decided I'm not getting any younger. And for some weird reason, I've always wanted to do roller derby. Ever since I watched an episode of Charlie's Angels and it was roller derby, I was like, I want to do that. I love roller skating. So I was like, I'm not getting any younger. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I want my kids to see me do this. And they all thought that it was the coolest thing. My teenage sons just thought that it was the most amazing thing. And I went out and I did it, and it was super scary and it was super painful. But it was also super fun. And so I don't do it anymore. I decided like a broken femur didn't mesh well with my life. And so I need to because it is a full contact sport. Like it really is very dangerous. A girl on my team actually broke her femur. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for that. So I stopped, but my kids saw me and they saw me come home from practice, so sore and in pain, but with a huge smile on my face. They saw me go out and do it and accomplish something that I wanted to accomplish. And so I just think that if we can have, as moms, if we can have a growth mindset, that is the most empowering thing that we can do for ourselves, but also it's the most empowering thing that we can possibly do for our kids.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for creating the system and sharing all the tools to help us keep our sanity. But I think the most that I want to say thanks for showing us that there is a way, a workable way, where as a family we can come together and gel together as a team for everything, including chores. Thanks for that.
Yes, you're so welcome. It really is life-changing.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Empowered Kids TV. I'd like you to do us 2 favors. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe and press the bell icon so we can notify you of upcoming episodes and you don't miss any of our amazing programs. And if you found value, please share it. It still takes a village. So share this with your family and friends. As we always say here at Empowered Kids TV, you're just one connection away. With love and gratitude, empower us. Until next time.